Jake Tapper, more than any other so-called journalist, knew Joe Biden, knew the people around Joe Biden, grew up near where Joe Biden was senator, was well familiar with him. For him to come out with a book now and act like this is a terrible cover-up and so forth and so on, like he's an observer, when he was a participant, more than that, when he was a co-conspirator, is so outrageous and unethical. He should be laughed off of CNN. He should be laughed off of any stage. He shouldn't get a platform ever to promote the book. Jake Tapper, his so-called profession, CNN and the rest, undertook the greatest political cover-up and scandal in American history. And if that debate had not occurred and made it impossible for the media to continue to cover up the fact that Joe Biden was unqualified to be president of the United States, he would have been their nominee. They would have taken it right to the very end. I don't think he would have won, but a great nation doesn't take a chance like that. And so this was the most massive cover-up and scandal in American political history, led by the Democrat Party and their media. Now, the fact that they try to rewrite this, and the fact that, oh, well, look at this, and they were going to get him a wheelchair, and this was going to happen. Okay, very, very interesting. But you should have been on top of this while the man was sitting there as president of the United States. We all saw it with our own eyes. We all heard it with our own ears. We saw what was taking place. Many folks, many of you have people in your families that have dementia or Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, I have one. And so you know it. Hell, I did shows here on Blaze. I did shows on Fox. I did shows on the radio saying, and by the way, respectfully, that this man should not be president, because he doesn't have the mental capacity. I did a show on Fox, I talked about it here, that his wife is power hungry, that she didn't want to leave the trappings of the office, that they like being flown around on Air Force One, that they enjoy getting free food, they enjoy the protection and all the rest of it. I mean, it's a good life if you can get it. But the fact that he wasn't even in Washington 30% of the time, that he was always on vacation and so forth, and the fact is, you could see how he was walking, how he was talking, his reactions, his staring into the sky. Even people who are not even remotely familiar with this problem of mental decay, unfortunately, could see it. You didn't have to be a doctor. You didn't have to be a PhD. And what do we expect of our journalists? Do we really expect too much from them? To tell the truth? To find out what's going on and report it? Instead, what do? They fought us every step of the way. There you had video. The Prime Minister of Italy. Biden's walking off. He's walking off in France, and she has to go over there and pull him. He's looking around like this. And oh, no, he's looking at the guy behind, not looking at anything. And how many times did he have his note cards? And they would say something like, call on the journalist, third from the left. And he'd read, call on the journalist, third from the left. I mean, it was beyond obvious. This isn't a guy that could even care for himself. And Jake Tapper dares to try and get you to buy his book when he was part of the problem involved in the cover-up, where they're trying to rewrite their history, where they're trying to save their profession. They're not professionals. They're propagandists. They're demagogues for the left, for the Democrat Party, for the government bureaucracy, for the rogue judges. This is why I call them the Pravda, the Al Jazeera, American media. That's what it's become. Is the press free in this country? Well, it's free, but it's corrupt. That's the problem. I wrote a whole book on that, you might recall, on freedom of the press. This guy is a complete fraud, a complete phony. This network has no ratings. It only exists because a massive international corporation props it up and subsidizes it. And so what we have here is from 7 News Australia, one of our favorites, just a couple of years ago. 2 years ago, actually a year and a half ago. A year and a half ago, a year before the last election, long before they renominated Joe Biden as the Democrat nominee, they put together this montage. This montage just touches the surface. It's the point of the spear. And even then it was obvious. So that's why we decided to go back even before the November election, even before his nomination, well before, to show you what a fraud our media are, and Jake Tapper especially. Go.
During opening speeches, the leader of the free world was caught dozing off. And while making small talk with the Duchess of Cornwall at the COP26 summit, Sleepy Joe produced his own emissions right in front of royalty.
Joe Biden apparently broke wind in front of Camilla Parker Bowles. That's got to be the end of his presidency, surely.
Camilla's reportedly described the incident as long, loud and impossible to ignore. It's not the first time Biden's had a bungle. His first presidential press conference in March was somewhat puzzling.
If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to... Anyway. We're going to get a lot done.
Not even a binder of notes could help America's Commander-in-Chief get back on track.
Hang on. Sorry. Oh. Sing me, Miss Kim.
And during the historic AUKUS announcement in September, Biden struggled to remember who he was partnering with.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister. I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts.
Graduation day for Colorado's Air Force cadets, but it was the US president coming in for a hard landing. The 80-year-old scooped up by naval and security officers, Joe Biden back on his feet, pointing at the culprit, a sandbag on stage. Quickly given the all clear by a White House spokesperson.
Mr. President!
The image not helping America's oldest ever president as he ramps up for a second term.
This is not good. It's not anything that the White House or his campaign wants.
The online pylon to be expected. What wasn't? This from his fiercest critic.
He actually fell down? Well, I hope he wasn't hurt.
Trump at 76 has had his own near public stumbles, and this isn't the first for Biden, who spent much of this term defending his record against claims he's too old for another tilt. If he runs, wins, and serves a full term, Joe Biden will be 86 years old when he leaves office.
It's a matter of, can you do the job? And I believe I can do the job.
And he intends to keep going, arriving home tonight and dancing off any questions of fitness.
Ask one last question. Have you had any talks with Senate Republicans who are threatening this administration with not considering the immigration legislation that was passed in the House until the situation at the border has been resolved?
No, because I know they have to posture for a while. They sort of got to get it out of their system. This is a... but I'm ready to work with any Republican who wants to help solve the problem or make the situation better. But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. If you get any questionable calls, please tell us by going to report fraud, dotftc.gov. Where I come from, you don't get far unless you ask. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look, though, okay? If you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We end the cancer as we know it.
This is an historical moment for Brazil and for the U.S. President Biden, can you hear me? You can? Yes, good. And so...
It's a good question. Number one, I was a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, the rapidly rising I don't know. Donald Trump is reelected. Freudian slip.
Thank you, guys.
Will you take questions on inflation then?
Let's move. Thank you. Thank you all.
Do you think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch. We should challenge students in these schools to have advanced placement programs in these schools. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. Their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're gonna put you all back in chains. $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're gonna be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week for childcare. I wrote the bill on the environment. Why would I not be for it? America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put
Ay, ay, ay. Let go, Joe.
It's an honor to be here to welcome Prime Minister Albanese and Prime Minister Sunak.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Boris, and I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. It's a very exciting day around here. We'll have reaction and analysis to everything we just heard.
Let's look at America now. Donald Trump has launched a fresh attack on Joe Biden overnight. He's questioned the Democratic candidate's fitness for office after he appeared to forget the president's name during a virtual campaign event.
What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia,
Why did you help him? You can go on and on and on. Maybe that was a little too much, but let me tell you something. There's a ton more. But the media missed it. Now remember, this was put together about 1.5 years ago. And now we have, these are really deceitful, phony individuals. This guy, Jake Tapper, ladies and gentlemen. The idea that he's now going to make money off of a book that claims to be the most important book about the cover-up of Biden's mental incapacity is outrageous. Outrageous. But let's take a look at this. CNN, The Lead, with Jake Tapper the other day. Go.
In The New Yorker today reveals for the very first time what exactly motivated actor and director George Clooney to write his momentous op-ed calling on Biden to drop out of the presidential race, despite personally knowing him for more than 2 decades, and Clooney's international fame as a movie star, did not appear to recognize Clooney at that June 2024 fundraiser that Clooney was headlining, even after a Biden aide told the president, quote, "You know George Clooney." And it wasn't just Clooney who was alarmed, so was President Obama.
You know what's really outrageous about this, folks? Hold it right there. Jake Tapper grew up in Abington Township, Pennsylvania. We grew up in the townships right next to each other. Obviously, I didn't know him. Abington was sort of marginal Republican. It's now heavy Democrat. Cheltenham, where I grew up, was Republican. Now it's heavy Democrat. As Philadelphia expands, its demographics expands. The suburbs were heavy Republican. They used to counter Philadelphia in these statewide elections. Now the city and the suburbs are Republican, and they're countered by central Northwest, Northeast Pennsylvania, more rural areas and smaller towns. All right. Jake Tapper has known of and known Joe Biden for decades. Why? Because Biden was the senator from Delaware, which is right next to Pennsylvania. More, Wilmington is actually quite close to Philadelphia. When I worked in the Reagan administration, I would drive home every weekend or every other weekend from Washington to Philadelphia, and I would drive through or around Wilmington. So it's a pretty easy drive. My whole point is here, Jake Tapper, more than any other so-called journalist, knew Joe Biden, knew the people around Joe Biden, grew up near where Joe Biden was senator, was well familiar with him. For him to come out with a book now and act like this is a terrible cover-up and so forth and so on, like he's an observer, when he was a participant, more than that, when he was a co-conspirator, is so outrageous and unethical. He should be laughed off of CNN. He should be laughed off of any stage. He shouldn't get a platform ever to promote the book. Now, there may be interesting things in the book, but not from him. Not from him. They interviewed 200 people, these two journalists. When do they have the time to interview 200 people? Don't they have their own business and shows and so forth? It's fascinating. At no time during the Biden presidency did the man show any curiosity whatsoever until after the debate, when the entire media said, oh, we better cover our butts here because now we look stupid to all the American people. Plus, now we're afraid Biden can't win. We got to broom him out and bring in, Broomhilda or whatever the hell. So that's what they did. And now they want you to believe. Look at all these things that are happening. And I have to say, even some of my friends in the media, they're talking about the book. What's in the book? Oh, this stuff about, I don't care. You tried to pull a fast one on the American people in the presidency of the United States. These people have no shame. Jake Tapper has no shame. He's the same guy that used the Hamas casualty numbers over and over and over again, despite knowing it's Hamas, it's coming from terrorists. But he didn't mind being a propaganda mouth for Hamas. It didn't matter what these experts were saying. That's not possible. It didn't matter that Hamas itself corrected its numbers to some extent. Oops, we were caught. Sorry. That's right. Those numbers are inflated. Hamas has been more truthful in the last few months than CNN about the casualty. How sick is that? How sick? It's very sick.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.